Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be back with today's guest, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. Of course, we want to thank Violet Defense for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school's athletic department, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Go to violetdefense.com for more information. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. We have a Sideline Interactive video score table like you see in this picture in our gymnasium, and it is fantastic. You really need to check them out. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action and find out exactly what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. You won't be disappointed. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, Wall of Fame has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589. Or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more at hometownticketing.com. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to thank Huddle for their support of the podcast. At Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play. If you're a club or a youth coach, Huddle can help you out. High schools and colleges have been using Huddle for years, and even professional teams use Huddle to help improve the play of their teams and their athletes. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including most of your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and the coaches at the colleges and universities that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for their sponsorship of the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect some comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out our testimonials. And then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your players or your parents, you're really missing out on some great feedback. Go to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to a very special edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We've got someone who I think I can call an old friend. We've known each other for a while now. Our guest today is Matthew Glick. He's the founder and the CEO of Gipper. And if you haven't heard, Gipper's a platform that's used by over 1,000 schools in almost every state. And it allows ADs or coaches to create custom branded content in very quickly, and then have them, up on social media in a very quick time. And Matthew's going to tell us a little bit about it. Matthew Glick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've watched from afar, listened from afar as well. A lot of great guests that I'm kind of joining here. So pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me on.
Well, we're excited, and again, it's keeping with our I don't want to say mission, but our goal of just trying to help athletic directors out with best practices. And I first came across Gipper really too late in my career to fully use it. The last year I was actually an AD. One of our mutual friends, John Scromolo, did a presentation for our state association, our virtual conference. And talked about Gipper, and that's where you and I got together. And then we had you down to our state conference, the FIAAA. Did a great job with our ADs. So I'm going to shut up now and give you a chance to share. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. I'm sure there's a sports background in there, and maybe just talk about that path that led you to create and now operate Gipper.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually born outside of the US. I was born in London. My mom is Welsh, but spent a lot of her time in England, where she met my father, who is American from New York, who was kind of studying overseas at the time. So I was born in London, but I moved to Los Angeles when I was 6 years old. So I grew up in LA, and I was sports obsessed from the onset. I was very obsessed with soccer, or football as we called it, when I was living in England. And then when I moved to America, I got introduced to some other sports as well. I was a big basketball fan, football fan. My world was really in sports. And growing up, I played, all of those sports, different ones as well, but really focused on soccer and American football, where unsurprisingly, I was a kicker. So those are my two big sports. I was also the head of our student section in high school. So very, very involved in the athletic world. What I wasn't super involved with was entrepreneurship. We'll talk about kind of the evolution of Gipper, a company that I really started heading into college. But I wasn't one of those kids that had the lemonade stand set up and was, making money from an early age. My sole focus really was athletics. I wanted to play as competitive soccer as I could possibly play. I played really high level club growing up. And then when I was, I think, a junior, I committed to play Division I soccer at Colgate University in upstate New York. And so it was really then going into Colgate. This was a graduate high school in 2015. Played 4 years of Division I soccer at Colgate. A little bit of bragging here, but we were the most winning class in school history. We won 3 Patriot League championships in a row. 3 NCAA tournament appearances. We beat Michigan one year to get to the Sweet 16. So we had a really amazing team, an amazing group of people, and a fantastic college experience. But part of that was my participation in an entrepreneurship program that Colgate had to offer. So I won't go too deep into the details. I'm sure you have other questions, but there was an incredible entrepreneurship program, totally extracurricular, called Thought into Action, the idea to bring a business concept to reality. And I had a very different version of Gipper that I brought to that program my freshman year at Colgate. And then kind of the rest is history. I know we'll get into Gipper a little bit later on, but definitely sports focused. I've loved playing and watching sports my entire life, and now get to work in it with incredible folks across the country.
Well, I always enjoy hearing the stories, and I just, find it, really cool. A lot of times, I'll preach to athletic directors because I was very blessed as an AD to have some student athletes or have some students at my schools that they were interested in sports, but they didn't really have, whatever that DNA to be successful on the field, but they turned into, public address announcers, or they helped at pep rallies. They dressed up as the mascot. They just love sports. They were a sports nerd, if you will. They, like when I was a kid, the agate print in the newspaper, reading that. You certainly meet that description, but then you also brought with it some pretty good, athletic chops to play D1 soccer. So
Yeah, but I'm gonna be transparent here. I didn't play a ton when I was in college. I was unfortunately I dealt with a lot of injury issues, so I tore my ACL actually going into my first year in college. I had to get another major knee surgery, so I was constantly battling this like knee injury situation and recovery. But blessing in disguise, that allowed me to dedicate time to building a company in college, which maybe if I'm fully healthy and playing and traveling all the time at an earlier stage of my career, maybe that doesn't happen. So that some of that extra time recovering allowed me to pursue these other passions, which was really terrific. And then towards the end of my career, I was able to heal up and play a lot more, which was great. And I had a group of guys who were super supportive, which made it even better experience. I always felt part of the team, even in those early days when I was battling injury.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I have said many times that injuries and a lack of talent kept me out of the NFL. So I can relate to that. For our listeners, we're visiting with Matthew Glick. He's the founder and the CEO of Gipper, the sports graphics platform. We're going to find out a little bit more about what Gipper can do for you as an AD, but let's take a quick break and hear from one of our podcast sponsors. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We really want to thank Huddle for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the play of their athletes and their teams using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. We have a Huddle Focus in our gymnasium, and it is fantastic. Our volleyball and basketball coaches just love it. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play. Whether you're a club or a youth coach, or even high school and college coaches are winning using Huddle, and the professional teams are using it as well. You really need to check it out. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and the coaches of the college and university teams that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support of the podcast. You've heard me share that we have a Sideline Interactive video score table in our gymnasium, and it is fantastic. We use it for games, but we use it for pep rallies. We use it for signing ceremonies. It's a tremendously versatile tool, and you really should check it out. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com, and they can tell you exactly what these fantastic products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Welcome back, everyone. We're visiting with Matthew Glick, the founder and CEO of Gipper. Matthew, we always like to ask our guests to share about their mentors, the people that have helped them along the way. None of us get here by ourselves. So who's been around in your life, maybe family members or coaches or teachers, even people you've worked with or worked for that's helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, definitely in my life, I've been incredibly blessed by having a ton, honestly, of mentors and people I can look up to that have helped get me to where I am today and continue to help, sometimes even on a daily basis. And I'm gonna not be able to say everyone, but I pinpointed sort of three. Not all of them are like an individual person, but kind of three types of mentors that have been really important. That I'm sure other people have had similar types of arrangements as well. The first is, I think, for a lot of people listening today, are my coaches growing up. I talked about playing sports since an early age. Each of those coaches offer different types of mentorship. And I know sometimes growing up, there's you're butting heads sometimes with the coaches, and there's challenges associated. But literally every single coach that I've been lucky enough to play for, I've learned something from. Most recently, my college head coach, Eric Ronning, I'll give him a shout out here, and some of the assistants, Mark Plotkin, they really drilled in me a principle that I've actually brought to Gipper as one of our foundational principles, which is to be a good person. It was something that our coaches and our coaching staff would always preach and talk about, how important it is not only to perform on the field, but just to be a good overall human being, a good, decent human being, and something that I really carry with me in everything I do and with the people that I interact with on a daily basis. And then my parents, I definitely can't leave my parents out. My dad, in terms of business, has been an incredible person to lean on and speak with, and it's really strengthened our relationship. And just two people I love dearly, and I'm so grateful for their mentorship that continues throughout my life. And then lastly, I've been incredibly lucky to have some fantastic advisors just strictly on the business side, many of which came from my college entrepreneurship program that I referenced earlier. People that, for whatever reason, give up their time really for nothing in return to help me grow and succeed as a leader and as a business person. And there's no chance that Gipper would be where it is today, without the help of those people. And it's always, it's made it abundantly clear that I need to be giving back as well, particularly as I get older. There's always someone younger doing something exciting around entrepreneurship or really any passion that they have. And I want to be that type of person that always gives time back, that's always available, because without those people, who knows what happens. It's very likely that I'm not here today having this conversation with you. So very, very grateful. So three different types of mentors, all incredibly important, and folks that I'm incredibly grateful for, and hope that I make them proud as we continue to grow Gipper and as I continue to move on through life.
Oh, I'm sure they are. And you're absolutely right. We are all, fortunate to have those people in our lives to help us, whether it was a kick in the butt or a pat on the back or both. And the concept of giving back, that I've heard so many times, and I've said it myself, listening to someone, boy, I wish I knew that 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I first started out. And so I think that's exactly what we're trying to do is give back to that next generation. Let's go and talk a little bit about Gipper. As I mentioned, I came across Gipper literally my last year as an AD. I've been able to use it with the podcast a little bit because I'm still involved with FIAAA, but let's pretend that one of our listeners is brand new, don't know anything about Gipper. Give us a little bit of an idea of what Gipper is. And then after our break, we're going to do a deep dive into all the different things that it can help an athletic director do.
Absolutely. So Gipper is a content creation platform for athletic departments and teams that allows anyone working within an athletic department or an individual team to create and share branded content to their social media channels, but in seconds on any device and without needing any sort of design experience whatsoever. Now, what does that mean for that person who's never heard of Gipper? If they're working within the world of high school athletics, they've probably seen on social media either other high school teams or collegiate or professional teams put out things like game day graphics, score updates, award templates, right? All different types of images that have nice branding, the photo from the game, maybe the score, some sort of information that those programs or teams are trying to communicate in a really compelling way. That same sort of content that elite Division I athletic programs or professional sports teams are creating and sharing on a daily basis, a high school athletic director can create using our platform. They don't need to have the design skills. They don't need to have hours and hours in their days. They can create and share this content in a matter of seconds, whether they're on their phone at the sidelines of a game or at their office on their computer. We make it really easy for any department at any level to create and share that sort of content.
That was a pretty good broad brushstroke. And again, it's for our listeners, it's so easy to use that even I can use it. So in just a minute, we're going to come back and Matthew's going to tell us more about some of the really cool things that Gipper does. He's also going to do some screen sharing. Obviously in the podcast, you won't be able to see that, but when it gets uploaded in a few weeks to YouTube, you'll be able to see it. Matt, let's go ahead and right now, if somebody wants to, and we'll do this again in the end of the show, if somebody wants to find out more about Gipper or reach out to you personally, what's the best way that they can do that?
Absolutely. So they can visit our website, which is gipper.com. That's GIPPER.com. You can also email us directly at sales@gogipper.com. So that's GOGIPPER.com. And what I'd like to do, which is impromptu, is I'd like to give a 20% discount for anyone that signs up directly from the podcast. So if you just communicate to us when you create your account on Gipper, we'll say, how did you hear about us? Or if you book a demo, we'll ask, how did you hear about us? Just say the Educational AD Podcast, and you get 20% off any first-time purchase. This is in the moment, so take advantage and just let a member of our team know. We can apply that for you, whether you're paying by credit card via our site or you need to use a PO. But again, gipper.com, GIPPER.com. You can book a demo, create a free account, or get in touch with our team, and we'd be happy to help with any questions, anything you'd like to learn about how we can help your program.
All right, take advantage of that discount. We're going to be back and find out some more really cool stuff about Gipper. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs for their support of the podcast. Wall of Fame is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. And to learn more and get started on your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. And check them out at the NADC conference in Denver. Hey, we're back with Matthew Glick, the founder and CEO of Gipper. Matthew, again, you gave us a little bit of an idea of what Gipper can do and what it is, but let's do a deep dive. Let's talk about and show our listeners exactly some of the really cool things that Gipper allows them to do.
Awesome. And I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but I think it may be really helpful for some of those folks listening to hear a little bit more about, why this is important. Like, why does this actually matter? Why should you be thinking and investing time and potentially money into creating and sharing content for social media? And I think one of the most important things to talk about is this shift that we've seen really, especially coming out of COVID, where, during a period of time, physical communication was shut off and schools and athletic teams were forced to use their digital channels, social media in particular. And sort of as people in society, we've grown very accustomed to, and the expectation has increased around digital communication. People expect and demand information to be communicated to them through digital channels in real time where they are, right? So they're not asking or they're not coming to you for information. They're expecting you to come to them with information. And social media in 2021, heading into 2022, is simply where people live, where as a school, as an athletic department, as a team, where your stakeholders' eyeballs are. And so in order to live up to that sort of expectation, you need to be putting out content on a consistent basis. And it's really, really difficult to do so unless you have a tool that allows you to do it at scale, because we know at the high school level, you have so many teams, right? A professional team is lucky. They have all the resources just for one team. At the high school level, you usually have the fewest resources, but the most amounts of teams to cover. And so you need a tool to allow you to create and share content in an equitable way for all of those teams without taking up all the hours in your day. And that's exactly what Gipper is there to do. It's a time saver. It's a resource that anyone can use within your department, whether that's you, an assistant AD, a coach, a student assistant, and will allow you to create and share content at a scale that just wasn't before possible. So all your teams can get the recognition, all of your athletes can get the recognition that they deserve. So hopefully that makes sense for those listening at a high level. I'm going to now share my screen and I'll talk through this so that those who are only listening can hopefully get a clear idea. But right now I'm pulling up our Twitter feed. So this is the Twitter feed of our Gipper account, where we retweet the thousands of schools across the country that are using Gipper on a daily and weekly basis. We have thousands of schools and athletic programs from elementary even on the school side of our business, all the way up to NCAA Division I athletic programs and really everything in between. You'll see an example here of a meet day graphic. So this is promoting a wrestling meet from one of our partner programs. Here are two game day graphics, some really great looking content here. Actually, both programs are from Florida. It's like they knew we were on the podcast. You'll see this beautiful cutout used here within this template. Branded content where schools are using their official logos, their official colors, their official fonts to ensure a really consistent and compelling brand look when on social media. If you were to kind of take away the school information and you were to look at these graphics, you would think they're a collegiate program. This is the sort of level of content that you can make in seconds using our platform. Then as I scroll down, here's another example, another game day graphic from one of our partner programs as well. So again, for those that are watching, this is going to be more clear, but for those listening, just different examples of actual content created and shared by the thousands of partner programs that we have across the country. And then I want to click in to the actual platform to run through a really brief demo that, again, I know if you're listening, it's going to be a little bit hard, but I'll talk through it. So hopefully you can envision it. And if you'd like, you can go and book a demo yourself via our website as well. But this is Gipper. We're within one of our ready-made game day templates. So this is a template that in its stock form is set up for basketball, but we're going to customize this to a new look that's going to be specific to football. To do that, we're going to use the left section here, which is called the editing section. This is where most of the customization takes place on Gipper. What's awesome about the editing section is the fields correspond specifically to the template that you're working on. So it says photo, and there's a stock basketball photo. If we were to replace that, it's going to replace on the actual canvas. So this is how you're going to update the graphic. I'm going to go through this quickly here, just so you can get an initial idea of how this works. But the first thing we're going to do is change the photo. To do that, we click on the photo in the editing section. That opens up your gallery on Gipper. Your gallery is where you can store and organize all of your media. When I say media, I'm talking about photos, logos, videos, anything you're looking to use in content. I'm going to click on one of these football photos and you see that it drops right in. I can reposition this and resize it so it looks perfect. And then the next step, we're going to update the background photo. I'm simply going to remove the background photo. I'm going to hide it. So you'll see that logo now disappears. The background texture is another option that we provide on Gipper. You get access to stock textures that you can use, or you can upload your own. Our creative director, who's the former lead creative at the Big 12 conference and St. John's University in New York, was adamant that we had texture options on Gipper for our users. It's a really added design level or element that can really level up the look of your content. And then the logo option here in the top right of the template, you'll notice that blue logo. We want to change that with our own logo that I have stored in the gallery. So I'd click, it's going to open up the gallery and I can click on this logos folder. and drop in our new logo. And you'll see it automatically appear in the top right. If I want, I can click on it and resize it, reposition it. You have that flexibility. So you're not stuck with what you see on the template. You can adjust things as you'd like. We also do have a logo database. I know for a lot of ADs, it's a big challenge going and finding your opponent logos at the high school level. We have thousands of high school logos available in our database and adding almost hundreds every day now. You can search for and select those opponents and they'll just drop right in to make it really easy and another time saver. That's a hugely appreciated feature that we have within Gipper. And then next, we're going to talk about changing the colors. So as a high school athletic program, if you don't already have them, you want to make sure to have official brand colors, right? It's not just red or blue or green. It's that specific red, that specific blue, that specific green. We do a lot of professional development on this subject. We're talking about building a brand at the high school level. Really, really important. Once you have those specific colors, those specific color codes, you can save them in your settings page on Gipper and have your brand color saved. So you're always going to stay consistent with the content you're creating. And you do this by simply changing the colors. You'll see it says main, secondary, and tertiary. We group elements together on our templates that are supposed to remain the same color. We do that for two reasons. The first is to save our users time. You don't have to change each individual element one at a time. And the second reason is to help ensure a high quality of design to help with color matching. So you just click on a color option, you drop in your saved program colors, and everything will fill right in real time. So super quick and a super easy way to stay consistent. And when you're talking about social media and building a brand, consistency is key. And then the last thing here is customizing the text. It says Gipper boys basketball in this text field. Obviously, this is now a football template, so we can delete that and update it to football. If you want, you could customize the font. You could click this downward arrow and change the font size, the font color, add a drop shadow, or adjust the spacing. And then I do want to scroll down here where it says advanced options. And I want to show you a really exciting feature that's been game changing for many of our athletic programs across the country. We have a sponsor logo feature where you can place a business logo on your content. Social media content is an incredible marketing asset. Many programs at all levels are monetizing their programs in different ways, whether that's by putting banners up on gyms or on the fence of a field with a business name. At the college level, you see this obviously in bigger ways. You can make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by monetizing your social media content. We saw an example in the podcast today talking about scoreboards on the sidelines and advertisement. Social media is a great place to do this as well. We have high school athletic programs that have generated almost $30,000 a year in sponsorship. So highly recommend taking advantage of this, especially if you're already using social media. You can have your sponsored game day posts, your sponsored score updates, and make this a revenue generator for your program, money that will make a huge difference for your coaches, your student athletes, and your school as a whole. To use this, really simple. You just click the toggle. It's going to show a logo that you can then place wherever you'd like, and you can upload your own sponsor. So we don't take any of the revenue. It's all kept by the athletic department, the athletic director. We have schools that are paying us $625 a year for Gipper, but they're generating 5, 10, 15, 20,000 or more in sponsor revenue. So something we highly recommend. And again, it's been hugely successful for so many of our schools and our ADs. So I'm going to close that up, but the idea here is once you have your design ready to go, you like the way it looks, you can save it if you want to reuse it throughout the season or throughout the year. That's what makes Gipper so helpful. You can create this, and now it's going to take you just 15, 30 seconds to share your next game day graphic. But you can also publish directly to social media or schedule to social media. So you can actually select a day or time for this to go out automatically. Scheduling, another huge time saver for our schools. We have ADs who always tell us on Sundays or Monday morning, they'll schedule out all of their game day posts, maybe their quote of the days, their athlete of the weeks for that week, and get it done. They don't need to worry about it again. But you can also download and save content directly to your device. Schools use Gipper content in lots of interesting ways outside of social media. We have ADs who put the content in their emails, who put it up on their websites, but also we have a lot of print templates, things like rosters, locker nameplates, bag tags, media passes, tons of different use cases, even outside of social media, and adding more and more on a weekly basis as well. So hopefully for those listening and for those watching, that was both clear. And I'm gonna hand it back to Jake now in case he has any other questions.
That was just so very cool. And again, you hit on a really important point, that it's not coming. I mean, it's here. It's been here for a long time. Is that back in the day, you used to, as an AD, you'd publish your schedule, maybe send it to the newspaper. And then, the internet came out. You said, okay, I'll put it on my website. And that's not good enough anymore. Parents, fans, you're competing for their attention and for their dollar, their admission dollar. And so you need to, and I say this in a very good way, spoon feed them with those schedules, and the platform itself and all the different options, creative options, that a school can customize those announcements for a game, as you mentioned, for an awards program, for just anything. Just so very, very cool, and so very important for an athletic director working in today's world. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. We talk about this all the time, the impact this content actually makes on a daily basis. We hear from our ADs, our partner schools, parents, students. As soon as they start using Gipper, literally that same day, the first time a graphic is posted, they get comments all the time about how grateful they are to be recognized, how awesome the communication is. There's real impact. And we actually had one of our partners tell us a story. They were walking in their parking lot. A parent came up and said, hey, I just want you to tell your communications office, or I just want you to tell your communications office, thank you, because we so greatly appreciate all of the social media work. And he just said, thank you, will do. But there was no communications office. It was just him. And that's what the power of this content can do. It can make it feel like you have a big department, even if you're just a one-person shop.
Right. And for so many athletic departments, that is the reality. It's just that one person. But it also makes me think of something that I said, earlier. Is I guarantee you have a student at your school that is, tech savvy, social media savvy, and getting them on your team, as that unofficial SID, they're probably going to love it, and probably come up with a lot more applications than, an old AD like me would ever come up with on their own. So you really need to check out the platform and see what it can do for you. Matthew, this has been really cool. Like I said, we got to, know each other a little bit last year at our state conference, but this has been fun connecting. But we're not done yet. When we come back, we're going to ask you to help a young athletic director on their very first job by putting some tools in their athletic director toolbox. And that's sponsored by Athletic Surveys. We're going to hear from them in just a second, but stick with us, listeners, and we're going to find out what Matthew Glick is going to put in his athletic director toolbox. We'll be right back. As I said, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program. And it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never checked the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out on some important information. Go to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone. Well, Matthew, as I said, this has been really cool reconnecting and hearing more about the product, but I'm going to put you on the spot. You certainly know your way around an athletic department, as a player and now as the CEO of Gipper. But right now, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Matthew Glick's athletic director toolbox?
Awesome. This is a fantastic question, and it's a challenge because we know as high school athletic directors, there are so many things that you're responsible for. So just three tools is difficult. But I'm going to come in with tool number one. You're a brand new AD. You need to get the communication out to your stakeholders. They need to know who you are, what you're about, what the program is all about with you coming in and setting in potentially a new culture. So I'm going to say investment number one, no bias here, maybe a little bit, is Gipper. So the Gipper platform would allow you as a new AD, no matter your level of design ability, the amount of time you have, to create and share branded visual content that's going to communicate really effectively to your stakeholders wherever they are. So again, as a new AD, you want to come in and make sure that people hear from you. Communication is so key, particularly those early stages when you're building trust. And Gipper will allow you to do that at scale and in a way that's going to save you hours every day. So that would be tool number one. And tool number two, kind of in tandem, and this is something that we've just been so excited about when ADs hear about this, is the use of scheduling software. And I'm not talking about game schedules, I'm actually talking about social media scheduling. So, all these ADs are putting out tons and tons of information on social media. We know as ADs, things come up. Someone comes into your office, a student, there's an issue. You can get distracted very easily. Social media scheduling software allows you to select a day or time for information to go out automatically, so you don't have to be there in the moment. The vast majority of high school ADs still aren't utilizing social media scheduling software, and it will literally save hours, right, every day if you're using social media. So we highly recommend it. There are tools out there like Hootsuite or Buffer that have free options that can convert into paid. We also have this built into Gipper as well. Whatever tool you use, it's just extremely helpful if you're going to invest in social media. It's going to save time, give you time back to do other things. So that would be tool number two, some sort of scheduling software. And then tool number three is more of a mindset. It's something that, obviously I'm on the younger side, but something I've tried to lean into, which is a sort of attitude of lifelong learning. You can always access new information. You can always get better. And that sort of mentality as a new AD, someone who's been in a program for years and years, for someone like yourself, Jake, towards the end of your athletic career, you begin the podcast. It's a huge hit show. Everyone's talking about it. What an amazing thing. If you have that sort of attitude, you're going to be successful and you're going to create something special, whether that's in your professional career, your personal career. And as a company, we're trying to sort of invest in that across the board, both in the individuals that work at Gipper and making sure that they're have ongoing learning and training and can get better, but also in our professional development resources that we make free and available to anyone. We have a program called Gipper Learn where you can access different courses. Our first course is social media certification for athletic departments, totally free. You can watch a series of videos with best practices, mini quizzes, and there's a final exam. If you pass that, you can get social media certified, which more and more ADs are doing, which is fantastic to see. We have almost bi-monthly 2 professional development webinars on different subjects that we have expertise in. And we have other free resources that you can download from our website. But there's tons of information out there, tons of people, ADs that are sharing fantastic information, people coming on the show, sharing their expertise. There's so many ways to get better. And I think that sort of lifelong learner attitude will make sure that you'll be successful really in whatever you do.
Well, that's a tremendous collection of tools, and I really love, the way that you've incorporated that lifelong learning vision within the company. Tremendously valuable stuff for ADs. And Gipper has been so well received here in Florida. I talk to ADs all the time that are using it. Appreciate you helping our profession in this state, do the best that they can. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and find out more about Gipper and maybe even pick your brain directly, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So to get in touch with me, you can email me directly at M for Matthew, Glick, that's Glick, at gogipper.com, gogipper.com. If you're just looking to learn more about what we do, how we can help, you can visit our website at gipper.com, gipper.com. You'll be able to book a virtual demo with one of our team members over Zoom to see the platform in action, ask any questions. You can also create a free sandbox account to test it out yourself. And if you're ready to make a purchase, you can do so by credit card or by PO, and you can take advantage, and you must, if you're listening, a 20% discount. Just mention you heard about us from the Educational AD podcast, 20% off any of our paid plans. Yeah, and we're on social media too, at Go Gipper, Gopper, Go Gipper, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it.
Very active on social media. This podcast is going to start airing on December 23rd. So again, you're going to have plenty of time to take advantage of that 20% discount. Matthew Glick, thank you so much for everything you do. And thanks so much for being a guest on the Educational AD podcast.
Jake, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and congratulations on all the success. And you're not going to need it, but I wish you continued success. It's great to see the podcast grow. And again, I really, really appreciate you having me on.
Well, you're very kind. Again, I'm having a great time doing it, and I just ask the questions. The guests are the one that provide the content. As long as people keep listening, we'll keep doing them. For our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in. Remember, the Zoom recordings of these interviews are being uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel, so please check those out. We appreciate you tuning in. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more at hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing.